Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Haven City Special Planning Commission meeting tonight. Today's April 28th, 2026. The time is 6:01. Tonight, we're going to forego any opening ceremonies and we'll move right into our meeting. Item number 2, presentation on public hearing to amend the zoning map from M1 to R3, approximately 2410 Hinckley Drive, parcel number 0800600075. Applicant is Haley Pratt, Castlewood Development. And this would be up to you, Damien. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. And good evening, commissioners. Thanks for being available for this special meeting. So this request does involve an amendment to a request to amend the zoning map. And that is going to be for the property that's approximately at 2410 Hinckley Drive. It's 7 acres in size and is currently zoned M1 light manufacturing. And the petition is to change that zoning designation to R3 residential. And staff would just iterate that this is a recommendation to the city council, and city council will take final action on the petition. So some background on the request. It is connected to a development concept, and that development concept consists of 75 total row house units or townhome units. And the concept and the density therein is consistent with the general plan map, which calls out the property as R3 with 12 units per acre. The commission might remember that in December 2025, there was a petition to amend the general plan and the general plan map to increase that zoning designation from R3, 12 units an acre, to 24 units an acre. That, however, wasn't consistent with the general plan, and the commission did move to deny that request, and the council followed suit shortly after. So the applicant has followed up with a different petition to amend the zoning map and of the same property. And this doesn't involve any amendment to the general plan map. So this would be just a rezone to R3, 12 units an acre, which is perfectly consistent with the general plan and also the general plan map. And the Planning Commission did review this in April 7th to be exact. And there was a motion to recommend approval, and that did pass with a split vote. However, that meeting was noticed incorrectly, hence why we are here reviewing this again. So staff's review, again, this is generally, well, it is consistent with the general plan, and the staff did recommend approval then. We are recommending approval now. We did recommend approval based on 4 conditions of approval previously. Those conditions of approval, staff still recommend, as well as an additional condition of approval, that a sidewalk is developed on the south side of the property in accordance with UDOT standards, because that is a UDOT road. However, staff recommends that the condition is that that sidewalk is extended all the way to the west to the Maverick property. And staff finds that condition of approval is in benefiting the future residents of this development, as well as community health, safety, and welfare, and will also serve to mitigate some traffic by reducing vehicle miles traveled. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a new condition recommending, and just to be clear, the actual condition is that as part of the development of the site, that the applicant would construct a sidewalk from their property boundary west to Midland to connect to that sidewalk. Right now, in front of Maverick and in front of the multifamily development that's adjacent, there's no sidewalk along Hinckley. And because of the impact that this development has, and after some internal discussion with staff and the city manager, we felt like this would be an appropriate request to help mitigate some of the impacts that we'd anticipate from this development.
Thanks for that clarification, Stephen. And just to recap on the four previous recommended conditions of approval, staff does recommend that the DRC does approve of the complete development plan set before any final approval is granted, that UDOT approves of that plan set, and that also Taylor West Weber Water District approves of that plan set. And they do share, that's because they share a property boundary to the east, and the proposed site development does interact with that property. Also, and lastly, that the trail continuity is maintained as depicted in the concept plan. We just want to make sure that follows over into the development plans as well. So with those 5 conditions of approval, staff does recommend that the Planning Commission recommend the approval of this petition. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, thank you, Damien. Appreciate it. Ms. Pratt, do you have anything you'd like to add at all?
Just a short little.
You got to come up and say your name and
Haley Pratt. I'm 6900 South, 900 East, Suite 130 in Midvale. Again, I just wanted to say thank you and reiterate what Damien said, that you took the time to meet outside of your standard hours. I really do appreciate it, and it's not something that many cities would do. So thank you. And we are on board with what staff is proposing with the sidewalk connecting to Midland. We understand that our residents would like access to service and services on that corner, and so that's a benefit. And we had a meeting with the city manager and Stephen yesterday, and we really are on board with what it is that we're committing to. So I also wanted to just highlight, we have gone through a few UDOT reviews. I know that was a concern. We will be doing a traffic impact study. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have. I don't want to take too much of your time tonight because I know it's already a bonus for me, but
actually it was our mistake. So you're being very gracious. So we appreciate your patience with us. So thank you.
absolutely.
Anybody have any questions or anything? Okay,
Well, thank you.
thank you.
Yep.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to enter public hearing.
I'll make a motion to enter public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I don't know.
Aye, sorry, couldn't get my,
Thank you.
yep.
There's Jennifer.
All right, as long as everybody got in. All right, with that, we are now in public hearing to solicit input from the public. Before we do that, I have to read these rules governing the public hearings. Each speaker will be limited to a single opportunity to speak and shall direct comments only to the commission. Such opportunity may not exceed 3 minutes as has been determined by the chair. I challenge somebody to be able to say that. As outlined in Resolution 28-2021. In accordance with Resolution 28-2021, the chair may refuse to recognize or may exclude from the public hearing anyone who is abusive or disruptive, takes part in or encourages audience demonstrations such as applause, cheering, display of signs, or other conduct disruptive to the hearing. Comments without first receiving recognition from the chair and stating his or her full name and residence or presence or presents irrelevant, immaterial, or repetitious evidence. Comments and questions raised by the speakers will not be addressed or answered in staff or commissioners, will not be answered by staff or commissioners during the hearing, but will be addressed upon conclusion and closure of the hearing. With that, is there anybody that would like to speak? Do we have anybody online?
Nope.
All right. Seeing that there's nobody wanting to speak, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, may I enter a motion to leave the public hearing?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, sound like we got everybody. All right. Discussion and action. Anybody have any thoughts? Any comments, questions?
Yeah,
Any-
one of the concerns I have is that and I'm speaking mostly to, well, to all of you here, that the general plan is currently under review. And as I look at this area, we've got this clamoring all the way from the state to everybody in between, talking about affordable housing, and we've got like 28 different notions of or possibilities to provide for moderate income housing, and we're required by state law, we're required to adopt 3 of those in our general plan. And we've gone through all that process many times, and it seems like we never get anywhere with regard to making housing more affordable. And people are always coming saying, hey, my kids want to live here, but they can't afford to do that. And so even though I think that goes back 6 or 8 years that we've had, or even longer, that we've had to have those moderate income possibilities within our general plan, it doesn't seem like home prices have come down. And I think as a city, we've got an opportunity perhaps that maybe be similar to ADUs. And again, I'm just throwing out some ideas here and some concerns, but ADUs, we limit ADUs to 1,200 square feet. We put restrictions on different things. And, I kind of see that this area, in my mind, would be very suitable for that kind of we don't have that ordinance right now, and perhaps it's something we could make in the future, but again, I think this area would be something that would lend itself very well to doing that type of thing. My bigger concern, and that would, in an effort to bring about some affordable housing, some moderate income housing within the city, which we certainly have not done. But my bigger concern has to do with that road level and the UDOT access as Hinckley comes down through there. And how do we get both ingress and egress? We've got a ordinance that requires 2 streets into subdivisions if they're over, and I forget the certain number of 30. Yeah. And this is going to have 75, and we're proposing that we only have one entrance to that place, one entrance exit, and an emergency exit. And to me, that doesn't comply with the ordinance we already have on the books. And so, we can go through this process of rezoning it, but I think until I personally see that this can actually work, I think we're putting the cart ahead of the horse ahead of the cart a bit, because I want to see the buy-in. I want to see that UDOT's going to accommodate that. And the reason I say that is because across the street where we have Wingspan, when the developer came and spoke in front of the city council several years ago, the guy proposing to put Wingspan in, he talked about there were some other viable candidates for developing that. And he talked about them having, put this delicately, having an inside track to work with UDOT to get access for Wingspan to Hinckley. And that stuck with me all those years. Is that really what required? is to have some sort of, inroads to UDOT in order to get access. And so, for me to be comfortable and go ahead with the rezone, I would like to see something more upfront. I would like to see how we're going to get safe entry and access to that. And if we're not going to be able to do it, to me, the rezone is really a moot point.
Okay, thank you. Any of the commissioners online have anything?
I had a question. Yeah, I'm a commissioner right here. George, this point, I thought that would be covered in the second point, the study from the UDOT to make sure that's approved. Isn't that part of the conditional approval? Correct me
I
if
was
I'm
going to
wrong.
ask the same thing.
Looking at the conditions.
Yeah, so I can clarify. And so we are requiring as one of the approval conditions that they get approval from UDOT about the access point. And then maybe just a clarification with our code. So we recently updated our code, which it's a little bit clearer and more enforceable now. But essentially at the time, we just quoted fire code. And so this is in 156.055 C, secondary access. Developments of 1 or 2 family dwellings where the number of units exceed 30 shall be provided with 2 separate and approved access roads. All developments shall comply with West Haven and Weber Fire District access standards. So the applicant has done a couple things. They are currently proposing, though, I don't know if it'll be approved, the second access that is shown out on Hinckley. That will come down to UDOT. The second thing is typically multifamily housing or attached units. They have a little bit higher standard that they have to comply with for fire code. And particularly those that are off a single access are required to be sprinkled. And so it is possible that they would be able to develop the site on the accesses as shown if they're able to meet the fire standards, particularly they'll likely have to sprinkle, but in the end, that will be a determination by the fire marshal.
James, to answer your question, I guess I don't want to see this in a position where, and we've seen this happen in the past, and not to say that you do this, but where, hey, the city's approved A and use that approval, but then go to the agency that needs to do something more and
Right.
leverage that. The city's already approved this and you're holding up this project because you won't do B.
Right.
And not saying that that's what will happen in this case, but I've seen that happen as the
Okay.
city's tentative approval or reason or whatever has put in to action this process where
Yeah, I
now
thought
that gets
okay.
leveraged to
I thought it was a conditional approval with that being, so you had 2 exits. That's what I thought last time. That's why I was kind of confused. It was part of the conditions. So maybe teach me, is that's not, if they didn't get that from the, right?
Right, and it says
UDOT.
an official notice of UDOT approval of the plan set and proposed access is
Yeah.
provided. So that is part of the conditions.
Anyway, I was just trying to make sure. Right, George? You always make devils in the detail, right, George?
yeah, I get what you're saying. But,
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
I'm just being consistent here.
No,
with
you're good.
the stuff
No,
that
I just want to make sure I understand and
like to see,
I'm fair with them and, okay. I'm good.
As you know, you've spoken many times, I hate to approve things with conditions,
Yeah.
and if it's appropriate, let's, go
Okay.
ahead and do it.
That's the last thing I had.
Yeah, I don't think for me, I've changed much in the way I'm viewing this thing. I have major concerns about the access in and out. The property to the east and the property to the north could sit there for another decade or so without anything being done, and that leaves us basically with a road to nowhere. And I'm not sure that UDOT would actually approve this. I see it as a bad accident prone area. And I haven't really changed from the way I felt about this from,
Sure.
from the last time.
Okay.
So. Anybody online there have anything to add?
I had the same question as James, so I'm appreciative of you guys answering that question.
Okay. Well, if there's no other discussion, I will entertain a motion in a, anyway. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Well, I gotta get back to where I am.
Read it, yeah.
Sorry, I lost where I was. Here we go. I make a motion to recommend to the city council the approval of the petition to amend the zoning map to change the zoning designation of the property at approximately 2410 Hinckley Drive from M1 to R3, finding the request complies with the general plan, is compatible and with surrounding land uses, and promotes public welfare when the following conditions of approval are applied. 1, the site plan will be brought into conformance with all applicable development standards, and each member of the city's development review committee approves the site plan, civil engineering drawings, and supplementary construction drawings prior to final site plan approval. Number 2, an official notice of UDOT approval of the plan set and proposed accesses is provided with an application for preliminary subdivision or preliminary site plan review. Number 3, an official notice of Taylor West Weber Water District's approval of the plan set is provided with application and preliminary or for preliminary subdivision or preliminary site plan review. Number 4, the trail system that crosses the site is maintained as depicted in the attached concept plan or in a way that results in the same continuity of the system. And number 5, that as part of any site development of the property owner construct a sidewalk along the frontage of Hinckley to the west of the project to connect to the sidewalk on Midland. The sidewalk shall be built to UDOT standards.
I'll second that motion.
There you go.
A motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. With that, we go on to item number 5.
Just to confirm, that was a 4-2, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
4 in favor, 2 opposed?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
I didn't catch the question very
It
well.
was there
you're
for a
good.
second and then she's gone.
So before we do that, I have one quick question, Stephen, and I apologize for missing that. It talks about Taylor West Weber providing the will serve. Is that not in West Haven Water District?
So the issue is they're developing right adjacent to Taylor West Weber, who's constructing a well on that property and has been negotiating some access points with the applicant. And so that's the point of consideration. So their service is through West Haven Special Service District, but the site will have an impact on Taylor West Weber, which they have been involved in the conversations and have been informed of the development and haven't raised any objections at this point. And I believe the applicant has met with the body as well.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
Anything else before we do number 5? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, we are done.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.